Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be making a moss growing tub. A big tub growing a lot of moss. To start off is a drainage layer. I'm using a leca, which is just expanded clay balls really. Next up I've got a weed blocking fabric. You can find this at your local hardware store. I've already cut it to size so it'll fit nice and nice. This just separates the drainage layer from the rest of the setup. Up next is some crushed charcoal. It was natural lump charcoal that I broke up with a hammer. If you're going to do this yourself, I do recommend you wear a respirator. It is incredibly dusty, and I don't think anyone here wants black lung. I'm not kidding, it is pretty dangerous to breathe in. I'll spread this all over nice and even. The purpose of the charcoal is to try and purify the water in the system. So as water passes through it, it'll purify it, and then it'll condensate again on the top to water the moss. This substrate I'm using here today is a soil blend I made myself in the past. It's made up of cocoa coir, fir bark, flake soil, earthworm castings, and sphagnum moss. I chopped it all up and mixed it together really well. I've used it in bioactive vivariums in the past with good success. Starting off with the moss, I've got some green terrarium moss. You can see it comes in a fairly big package and in pretty big clumps. I'm just breaking it up and laying it on top of the substrate. The reason I'm doing that is you don't really have to root moss. It'll root itself if the substrate is moist for long enough and it just kind of does its thing. So I'm doing quite a large section here. It's a bit of an experiment because I've actually not grown this moss before, but I'm eager to see how it grows. So I'm doing a pretty large section because I'd have that pretty large bag. So we will see. This here is live sphagnum moss. So it's kind of green, but it's not very green. You'll see that on camera. That's my main issue with this moss. It doesn't really keep its color very easily, so I've had a hard time with that. But it stays alive. Just kind of looks brown. Pretty boring, so we'll see how it goes. Just doing a corner section. This here is a aquatic moss that I'm actually really excited about. I've been terrestrializing it for a while now, which is great. It's been doing well. It's rooted in there, and it's everything that I'd hoped for. Because it's already rooted, I am kind of burying its roots in there a bit with my tweezers. However, the roots are quite shallow, so it's still not buried like a normal plant with normal roots would be. I'm just doing a small section. I don't have a ton. We'll see how it goes. So that's all filled up there, just between those two. Lastly, I've got one more moss up. It's this giant moss here. It's called Royal Pillow Moss. It's a huge moss variety. As I said, it grows into these large clumps that I had in my hand there. I'm just breaking it up and I'm going to bury these little strands and kind of mix it in the substrate a bit, kind of in little trenches or just sticking out, whatever feels right. It's again a little bit of an experiment because I've not grown much of it before. I did use it in isopod enclosures similar to this where I broke it up, kind of mixed it into the substrate there, and the isopods eat it. It kind of decays a bit, it soaks up moisture, and it does kind of look like some of it is growing a little bit in those tubs, but not enough to really consider it ideal. But I think that it will work, and again, mostly an experiment. So we'll fill the rest of the tub up with this here, and we'll see how it goes. To finish up, I'm just giving it all a good hose down here. Some of the moss is pretty dry, so I want to hydrate it pretty well because moss likes to be pretty wet for the most part. I'll check back later and see if it needs more water or if it's sufficiently moist. Thanks for joining me today. I hope to see you all next time, and I hope this video helped someone learn something.